one of the things that was happening in Indianapolis, you heard plenty about it. We talked about it during the show. Where is Tom Brady going to go? And look, I am convinced that no one knows what the hell is going on, and Tom Brady loves it. Now, we are compelled to report on it. We are compelled to talk about it. A couple of reports that popped up last week. Mike Giardi of NFL Media said the Giants are interested in Tom Brady. There had been multiple reports the Colts are interested. Albert Breer of SI.com knocks both of those down today, and we're going to have that. We're going to have this circular firing squad of media disputing each other's reports, being catty and petty about who's reporting what and who had it first. That's just our reality until Tom Brady picks a team. But Colts, I think, makes sense, more sense than Phillip Rivers, frankly, for them to go after Tom Brady. But it never made sense for the Giants to be interested in Tom Brady. They got Daniel Jones. Why do you want to stunt his growth and put him on the bench for a couple of years just because you're infatuated with a guy that you still don't have the offensive line to protect him?
Yeah, that made no sense. And again, Tom Brady's not going to a place like the New York Giants right now. Like, oh, yeah, I've won 6 Super Bowls and I'm 43 years old. I want to go to a rebuild. Yeah, right. There's no way. Just because Joe Judge is there and he's from New England means nothing. And you're exactly right. The Giants would be, for just lack of a better phrase, just plain old stupid if they brought him there right now with Daniel Jones. I mean, you made all the right points. The Colts one, like, you're right. From the football standpoint, you thought, like, okay, well, that could make sense. Tom Brady could see some things there that he's going to like. The Colts one, I wonder this, Mike, if we hear that they're not expected to pursue Brady because they were already told at the combine that Brady will not be pursuing them in any stretch of the imagination, by any stretch of the imagination. That's where I think of there. Again, nothing. You and I, we love Indianapolis. We have a great time. I just don't see Gisele Bundchen. I can never say her name. Gisele
Bundchen or Bundchen?
Okay.
I think it's technically Bundchen, but there is not a third syllable. I can say that.
Okay.
Whatever the 2 syllables are, there's not an N in there.
Well,
it's not Bundchen.
Okay. Well, she's a superstar, and she can just go by one name, and that's Gisele. And I just don't see Tom and Gisele living in Indianapolis, Indiana. I just don't. I don't think that would be their go-to type of spot. Again, I think Brady is going to go somewhere where the team is good. The team has a chance to be in the Super Bowl this year or in that conversation. I think this is more about money. This is about, maybe like you've said a lot, respect, like he wants it because he doesn't get it from Bill Belichick. I think he'd love to go somewhere and win a Super Bowl and be like, it wasn't Bill, it was me. And I think that's the type of team he's going to continue to look for, along with, I think he's trying to outdo Michael Jordan to become that icon of 7 rings over Michael's 6 rings.
And I'm with you. I love Indianapolis, and I hope the combine never leaves, although I accept the fact that it soon will be because the NFL thinks he can make money moving it around. But it's almost like Indianapolis defers to the combine. Like, it's not like there's a bunch of people everywhere. These coaches and GMs are anywhere you would want to see them. And it's not like there's a crush of fans hanging around trying to bother them. Like, Indianapolis just respectfully steps back, surrenders the city to the NFL, and stays out of the way. There's just like a cluster of autograph seekers when you leave the combine each day, like 4 or 5 people. That's it. And I'm impressed by that aspect of it, that it can proceed without being impeded by, what could happen in one of these other cities where there's a crush of fans everywhere you go, and it makes it harder to get from point A to point B. But all that said, I agree also, I don't see the Bradys relocating the family to Indianapolis. And you're right, it's very quick to get to the point where you're not going to pursue Tom Brady if you've gotten the message last week that you're not on Tom Brady's list, which gets back to what we talked about earlier. We don't know who's on his list.
No,
when I hear the Dolphins say, why would he want to come here? Well, okay, fine. But he wants to. That changes everything, right?
Yes.
Stephen Ross and Brian Flores, why would he want to come here? Well, I do. Okay, well, we'll get a locker ready for you. So I don't know who is going to fall into that category. We threw around some ideas during the show, but I think we can't overlook where Tom thinks he wants to be. And how do you say no to that? Whoever you are, Dolphins, 49ers, any other team out there, if he wants to play for you and you say no and it gets out and he does well somewhere else and you don't, You look as bad as the Texans did in 2012 for saying no to Peyton Manning when he wanted to play for them, and they decided to stick with Matt Schaub.
Right.
How'd that work out for the Texans?
Yeah.
So that's a very real dynamic here. If Tom wants you to be interested, I think that changes your analysis dramatically.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about that. It's going to corner teams into, it's going to put teams in a corner a little bit for all the reasons you mentioned. Yeah, they're not, now it might get leaked that he wanted to be there. We didn't do it. He goes somewhere else and is successful. Now we get, the backlash from our own fans and all that. But I will say this, there's going to be a number of teams that, again, Tom Brady's not necessarily going to be the right thing for that team at that moment. You could have a young team and you're trying to build things and you don't want to necessarily have an old guy who came from a different culture and all that, coming into your locker room and shaking things up when you're trying to mold this younger team into, having their own culture and having leaders and all that. So, again, I'm really interested too. I don't know where this goes. My heart of hearts tells me, a team like the Tennessee Titans would make a lot of sense. I get that because I think there's potential there. And I just feel like there's probably a team out there that we're not thinking of, or there's something going on in the back channels that we're not aware of where Brady and his crew are trying to work some angle. And that's where I just don't know. And it gets very interesting to me.
Well, now that the Combine is over, the clock is ticking toward March 16. The closer we get to that date without news of a deal with the Patriots, the more likely it is that he will be leaving. And I just want to say one other thing about Brady. This came up last week. There was a report, and I can't remember how many different people put this out there. I don't think it was just one. But this idea that, the reason the Patriots and Brady's representatives didn't meet in Indy is because they don't know what's going to be up with the CBA, so they don't know how the deal is going to be structured. Look, there's two options. They get a new CBA or they don't. It's not all that difficult to know what the general structure of a deal would be under either scenario. You still get together. You still make it clear that you want the guy. You still make it clear that this is the range of the raw dollars he's going to make this year, regardless of how we structure it. So I think that was kind of a cop-out PR type of a leak aimed at making it look not disrespectful that the Patriots didn't get together with his agent. I think that there is a level of disrespect there. I mean, he's meeting with everybody else who's interested. Why don't you just at least bring him in and talk to him and make it clear that they want to keep him and they look forward to negotiating this thing once they know what the CBA is going to be. And I think that was a telling omission by the Patriots to not get together with Don Yee.
Yeah, it was. Well, the Patriots, though, and again, at one point here, Belichick is going to tell Brady how awesome he is and show him all the respect in the world. That time's just not here yet because he's still, could possibly be on the team or in the NFL. And the Patriots have become the Patriots because they run it like a business no matter who's involved. And I think Mr. Kraft finally gave Bill Belichick the right of way with Brady to go, okay, yep, all right, I know you want him back. You don't want to give him this amount of money or whatever it may be. And Tom feels a little spurned by it, so they're going to let him go out there and check it. I still think at the last second the Patriots are going to try to swoop in and make Tom Brady and talk to him and try to make him feel comfortable about the Patriots once again and bring him back. I do. But, I wonder at that point, will Brady be too pissed off? Will he be too hurt by the situation and personally scorned by it to where he's not going to want to hear it and he's going to be, hell-bent on trying to get the hell out of New England and going somewhere else to shove it up Bill Belichick's you-know-what.
Yeah, I think one thing the Patriot way never really accounted for is the possibility that you're going to have a quarterback for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to convince him to stick around for year 21. The other angle, too, that somebody suggested to me in Indianapolis, will Robert Kraft get involved at some point and supersede Bill Belichick, whether it's the financial offer or whatever. And that's the thing. Even if Robert Kraft gets involved to try to keep Tom Brady, if Brady thinks Bill Belichick doesn't want him, why stay? I mean, I think Brady is looking for some indication from Belichick that this is truly what Belichick wants. And I think Brady has always feared that Belichick would get to a point where he doesn't want him. I think he needs to see and hear something from Belichick that lets him know clearly and unequivocally that he wants him to stay. And without that, maybe he goes.
Yeah, no, I think that's very real. And I don't think, I don't think he's going to get a lot of warm and cozy words from Bill Belichick when that time comes. I mean, I think Bill might say a few things to show him, hey, I respect you and all that. But this is not going to be like, oh, gosh, I'm so glad you're back, Tommy. Let's hug and kiss and do everything like that. No, just from my knowledge of Bill Belichick, him growing up in the Bill Parcells school, me being around that in my life with my dad and all that, those type of things just don't get said with this type of regime until the career is over and they're out of the business aspect of it. Now, Bill Parcells calls my dad on, Super Bowl Sunday every year to say thanks and says something like that, right? And shows his appreciation. And man, does my dad love it. I mean, he loves it to hear from Bill every year. And they talk more than that. But, that's just the way these old school NFL head coaches work. They're not going to make you feel, it's not their job to make you feel appreciated and great all the time. They're doing their job because they think, ooh, a pissed off Tom Brady or, and a Tom Brady with an edge about him is a better football player, and that's better for our team, not necessarily better for our personal relationship.
There's always that concern. Guys are going to get complacent. Guys are going to get soft. Guys aren't going to produce. And that distance, that withholding of emotion in the minds of some of the old school coaches is the way to get maximum production. Others would say that if you go ahead and show the emotion and show the appreciation, maybe you get even greater dedication during the existence of the career.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.